Okay, so the diencephalon, so here we can see the brain stem here, and so we have the medulla, the pons, the midbrain here. Here we have the cerebellum, and then we have this area here. This area right here is the diencephalon. And the diencephalon is, we're going to talk about this first uppermost portion of the diencephalon first, and that is the thalamus. And I've mentioned that one before. I had said, when we had talked about a nerve signal from somewhere down below, say your big toe. I think I mentioned your big toe. And I'd said you have 3 nerves, 3 cells, 3 neurons that go to let you say, oh, I can feel my toe. And so I'd said the first order neuron is the nerve that extends from your toe up into the spinal cord. Then we had an interneuron that went up the spinal cord all the way to the thalamus. Hey, we're there. That is this region right here. And then we had said the thalamus then had, from the thalamus to the surface of your brain was the 3rd neuron. So what is the purpose of the thalamus? I said it is the gatekeeper for the cerebrum. Now, I maybe said that or maybe I didn't say it, but what it does is it decides when you need to pay attention to a signal. The signal is always, the signal is always making its way up from your toe to the thalamus. But unless I mention the feeling of your toe, you probably didn't pay attention to it. When you all of a sudden pay attention to it, that's when the thalamus says, go forward, young man, to the cerebrum and let them feel their toe. So the thalamus is, as we say, it's at the superior end of the brainstem, and it is a gateway to the cerebral cortex. I always say, I've been saying, to the surface of the cerebrum. That is where the cell bodies are located. Cell bodies in your cerebrum are right there in what we call the cortex, the outer thin layer of your cerebrum. So they're going up there, and it's going to be relaying these signals when it decides you need to know them. It's also going to be involved in memory. So it's going to be playing a role in memory and emotional functions. But one other structure I want to mention while we're on the thalamus. We'll talk about it more later. But it's this thing right here. Right there above the thalamus is the corpus callosum, and that's going to be the connection between the 2 hemispheres of the cerebrum. We'll talk about it when we get to the cerebrum. So the thalamus is the gatekeeper to the cerebrum. It blocks inconsequential signals. Now we have 2 other parts to the diencephalon. I'd said the diencephalon consists of the thalamus, then we have a lower portion which is right here, which is the hypothalamus, and then we have the pineal gland. And when you look at this thing, that part right there, it doesn't even look like anything. That's the hypothalamus. We're going to talk about it next. And it's just kind of an in-between. What's it in between? It's in between the thalamus and the pituitary gland, right? So it's right there below. And so what it does all kinds of stuff. Even though it looks like nothing, the hypothalamus does all kinds of stuff. It is, so what did we say? You've heard me mention it before. We had said, it's the master gland. it, along with the pituitary gland, just below it, are going to control like 95% of physiology. Okay, so that's one of its functions. It also is super important in emotional behaviors. So not only is it controlling, and looks like nothing, controlling your physiology, it also is controlling food, fight, flight, and mating. So when you're hungry, getting food, hypothalamus. When you are scared, you're going to run away. Flight, that's the third one. Well, that's a hypothalamus. When you're angry, fight, that's the hypothalamus. When you are interested in, procreation, when you're interested in mating, this is also the hypothalamus. So it does all kinds of stuff, even though it looks like nothing. It looks like just a gap in between the thalamus and the pituitary gland. We have this other little doohickey right there, that little ball, and we will be able to see that when we look at a sheep brain. We'll be able to pull it open, and you say, that is the pineal gland. And the pineal gland is going to be receiving information from your eye, even though it's sort of back on the back side there of the diencephalon. But anyway, it receives information from your eyes, and it is going to be controlling what we call circadian rhythm. And what is circadian rhythm? Circadian rhythm is has to do with when you're awake and when you're asleep. It's going to be secreting a hormone that we've talked about, melatonin, which is controlling when you feel wakeful and when you feel sleepy. One final thing, I want you to watch this. I can guarantee you there will be a question that, just one, but there will be a question dealing with what is on this video that is going to be talking about the lateralization of the cerebrum. So we're going to be doing an introductory thing here. I always introduce the cerebrum at the end of this lecture. And this is a really interesting video because what you're going to see is there's a guy that draws real fast. He draws pictures. No, they slowed. I'm sure it took hours to do this video, but there's a lecture with drawings that go along with it that are explaining the lateralization of the cerebrum. And I want you to watch it and pay attention to the different roles that the different sides of your brain are going to be controlling. Left side will be planning and analytics of stuff you know. Right side will be dealing with the unknown and being open to novel experiences. But there's a lot more to it than that. It's about 10 minutes. Make sure you watch it. We'll come back next time and we'll spend another lecture talking about thinking. Thinking about thinking. All right. You guys have a good day.